Hey, so, talking about Murphy's Law. So Sunday I went to New York to officiate at a wedding, and I drove in with Grunny. We both went to the wedding. It was in Hewlett, New York. And then I took a 11 p.m. flight back, and Grunny stayed in New York for 2 days to spend some time with her four sisters that were going to be there, which really rarely happens. She has a sister who lives in Mauritius, a sister who lives in Beijing, the other one in Connecticut, the other one in Florida, who is in South Africa for the last 6 months, and Grunny. There's another sixth sister, but she wasn't there. So I come back Sunday night. Monday I take the kids to school. I picked them up from school. I made them dinner, and then I went on to a phone call, and Moshe went to cut an avocado. We made burgers for dinner, and he was cutting avocado. And suddenly, I hear my daughter Sarah scream so loud, and I run in, and I see my Moshe has a deep cut. He's screaming in pain, screaming. And here I am alone with the kids. So I immediately, God bless, it's good to be a rabbi in Chestnut Hill. I called my dear friend, Dr. Sumner Slavin, who was the head of plastic surgery at Beth Israel and Harvard, and now has a private practice literally in the square a few minutes away. And I said, could I come over? And he says, come over right now. I happen to be in the office. Everyone left. It's after hours. I run over. Took me about 10 minutes to get there. The kid was in so much pain. And he looks at him. He says, oh, it's not a big cut. But then he says, you know what? It could be that Moshe cut his nerve. I could see where the cut is. And he did a test on Moshe. And Moshe was so mature. Moshe's 11 years old. And he asked him questions. Do you feel this? It's the needle test. And he says, Mendy, it seems like he cut his nerve. Let me make a phone call. And he calls, who by now is retired, the head of the master at amniotic band syndrome, which is the nerve. And the guy says, listen, it's not an emergency. Don't send it to emergency room. Steri-strip it. And he gave him the name of the head guy at Children's Hospital who does amniotic band syndrome, Dr. Tinigar or something. He says, message him. So Sumner strips my son, Dr. Sumner, and he messages the guy, who God blesses, calls him back and says, listen, it's not urgent. Why don't you strip him? I'll see him in my office. I'll have my office call him, and I'll schedule him for surgery. And of course, I went to see him yesterday, and as we walk in, he says, Rabbi, he looks at Moshe, he says, it was avocado, right? Tell me. And I said, yes. He says, it's always avocado, and it's always the pit. He says, I would tell you how many people come in with all 5 fingers cut, their nerves, their tendons. Thank God it was only a nerve here. He says it's always somehow the number one case is getting avocado pits out. In any case, he scheduled surgery for Moshe tomorrow at Children's Hospital. It's an hour procedure, but he has to be in a cast for 2 weeks. Very brave boy. But why am I telling you all this? I'll tell you why. Not because I want to tell you about my son, which is of course great, and all the kind doctors who helped him. But I was thinking about this. In this week's Torah portion, we're introduced to Abraham, the first of the patriarchs. And I don't know if you know, but Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the 3 patriarchs, are considered to represent the 3 of the 7 emotions, the midot. We have Sheva midot, the 7 emotions. The first 3 are encapsulated in these 3 great patriarchs. Abraham is called Isha Chesed, the man of kindness. He represents the emotion of chesed, of unconditional giving and love. You see, Abraham constantly gave. He took care of the guests. He was inviting people. He wanted to give them the most he could. You have Isaac. Isaac is gevurah. He's restrained. He's disciplined. Because as much as Abraham was giving, when you give too much, unconditional, you spoil people. You need to be restrained. And then you had Jacob, who is tiferet, compassion. And compassion is the balance of restraint and chesed. Gevurah and chesed together. It's a beautiful woven tapestry. So you say, well, how did this connect to Moshe? I'll tell you how. When I came into the doctor yesterday, I said to him, listen, it's a big surgery, it's a big deal. Moshe cut one side of the nerve of his left hand finger, and he has no sensation on the top. He doesn't feel anything. I said, what's the big deal? You could stitch him up. Some are going to stitch him right away. So he won't have feeling on one tip of the finger. And the doctor said, the worst thing is when you don't feel pain. Because when you touch something, you can, heaven forbid, get burned and you won't feel the pain. In fact, there's stories of people who literally got burned and smelled smoke of their own flesh burning because they couldn't feel the pain. And he says that's the worst thing. And that's why it's best to repair it. He said if Moshe was your age, it could be he would never get his sensation back. But he said at his age, 11 years old, once we attach the nerve, slowly the blood cells will start recreating, so to speak, in the highway till the end of his finger. And within 3 to 6 months, he'll get his feeling back. And I thought about empathy. I thought about Abraham, the Bechira Avot, and I thought about the connection. Think about it. How do you know you're healthy? When you could feel pain. When you touch something and you feel the pain. What does that mean on a spiritual level? It means two things. And that's Abraham. You know how you know you're healthy? When you're empathetic to someone else. When you feel their pain. When you watch someone hurting, in pain, suffering, if it's emotionally, if it's physically, if someone is going through a hard time with their spouse, if someone is going through a hard time with their child, with their job, with their health, and you don't have pain, and you don't feel their empathy, and you don't feel bad for them, then something's wrong with you. Then you need to be fixed. But if you feel pain, as he said, if Moshe would feel the pain in the end of his nerve, he wouldn't need the surgery. It's a powerful message to us in how empathetic we have to be in others and how sensitive we have to be. If you see someone hurting and you have no feelings, you need to check your spiritual connection to make sure that you're okay. Because naturally, as a human being with the soul of God within him, within her, you have to feel the pain of others. You have to empathize with them. And you have to have empathy and care for those people. But then there's something else. Sometimes people say, Rabbi, I'm feeling so much pain spiritually. I'm disconnected. And I have such spiritual frustration. And you might say, that's not good. You shouldn't feel that way. But the truth is, the fact that you're feeling pain spiritually and you feel disconnected or you feel like you need to find more means that your soul is somehow in tune. And it's understanding of what you need. If you would be missing spiritually, if you would be disconnected spiritually and you feel no pain and you feel no hurt for that and you don't feel bad that you're not connected to your spirituality, then you know you're in trouble. The pain tells you that you're connected. You just have to strengthen it. You just have to work on it. It's like when you go to the doctor and you say, I'm feeling a pain. He says, listen, at least you know what to fix because you have that pain. And that's what I learned from sitting with the doctor. As the doctor told me, Mendy, he says, the fact that your son doesn't feel pain, that's the trouble thing. I think it's something, you learn a lesson from everything in life. God willing, Moshe will be fine. He'll have his surgery tomorrow. He'll have a cast for 2 weeks. He'll be excited. He'll choose his color. His friends will sign it. His family. He'll be fine. But we have to all remember and take that lesson to heart. When you feel the pain of someone else, when you have empathy to someone else, then you know that you're healthy. When you don't, then you have to work on your chesed, on your trait that we got from Abraham. The rabbis tell us that each Jew was infused with an inheritance of kindness from Abraham. Jews are rachmanim, baishanim, and goyim lechasadim, the rabbis tell us. We are kind, we are humble, and we do acts of kindness and goodness. May Hashem bless us all to always feel the pain and the empathy of others, and we're able to help them to make a difference in their life. God bless you. Have a great day.